Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's Natural Medicine Week webinar with Chantel Ryan. We're all going to be learning about midlife tips, weight loss from a naturopath. So Chantel is a functional naturopath and comes from us from WA today. So hello over the west of Australia.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us for this Natural Medicine Week, Chantel. I will put that over to you now.
Welcome, hi, and welcome everybody, wherever you are from. Hopefully there's some other WA people here, but I'm sure there's lots over at the East Coast. I believe it's around lunchtime, so thank you for joining us at lunchtime if that's you. You're in the West Coast, it's 10 o'clock here, so coffee time. All right, we will get into it. Hopefully we'll have no tech issues here. We will share, I'll just share my screen now so you can all see the presentation, and then we'll get started. Right, can you guys all see that okay?
Oh, Chantel, your screen's just gone small for some reason. And I'm seeing your screen again, your presenter view screen. So have you pressed presenter view?
Yep.
This looks like it's gone out of presenter view. Sorry, do you want to try that again? I know we did practice this beforehand.
I know. What happened there? Well, I'm definitely on presenter view. And I've just left it where it was.
Yeah.
Always tech issues. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Let's try. It's desktop 2. Share. I think I might have hit the wrong one again. Can you see?
Try presenter view. Let's see what happens. I'm seeing now your notes. There we go. Now all good to go.
Hooray!
Chantel.
Tech is working today. That's always good. All right. So I'm just going to minimize everyone so I can see. Okay, so yes, hi everyone, welcome. I'm really glad you're all here. So whether you're joining us live, I'm sure there'll be also some people catching the replays. So this session is obviously for you if midlife weight gain has left you feeling frustrated, confused, or just a bit kind of meh in your body. Just quickly before we dive in, a quick disclaimer here. So while I am, of course, a qualified practitioner, today's session is general in nature and designed for education, of course, not individual advice. So I will be sharing tools, testing options and strategies that I use in clinic with my clients, but what works for one person may not always be right for another. So please take what resonates and always check in with your own practitioner before you're making any big changes. And of course, no guarantees or outcomes are promised here. Every body is different and that's okay. All right, we will get started. Okay, so before we start, I just wanted to introduce myself. I know Nat gave you a little bit of a rundown there. So I'm Chantel Ryan. I'm a functional naturopath and health coach, and I'm also the founder of Real Functional Health, which is an online health clinic. So I work with women just like you who are navigating hormonal shifts, gut issues, and energy crashes, and wondering why what used to work doesn't anymore. So my approach is all about kind of cutting through health noise, using functional testing where appropriate, and getting real results with simple strategies. In midlife, we don't need more hustle, we need more support. So with that said, here's what we'll cover today. We're going to go through why weight gain is so common in midlife. So just learning kind of the why of it all, how hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol will play a major role. And then we will also talk about the role of food, supplements, and real life tips that work, as well as lifestyle shifts that truly move the needle. We'll also talk about the power of functional testing. So that's my niche area. I love functional testing. We'll talk a lot about that and how it helps personalize and get more clarity for you. Okay, so why midlife weight gain happens. So midlife weight gain is real, as I'm sure some of us know, and it's not just about age, calories, or motivation. It is actually a biological shift that affects almost every woman I see in clinic. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to click my slides. There we go. Okay, so why does it happen? So there's a few reasons. Hormonal shifts. So estrogen and progesterone, our main female hormones, they start to decline, especially during perimenopause, which can actually start as early as our 30s. So we often think perimenopause starts quite later on in our 40s and 50s, and for some people it might, but the hormone shifts start happening usually in your mid to late 30s, early 40s. So our stress hormone cortisol also ramps up at the same time usually, and that combination can completely change how our body stores fat. So midlife weight gain often shows up around the abdomen, around the middle, even if you've never in your life had belly fat before. Muscle loss reduces at the same time. So we naturally start losing muscle after 40, which slows down our metabolism. So the less muscle you have, the fewer calories you burn at rest. Our metabolic slowdown. So our body becomes more sensitive to carbs, less efficient at burning fat, and more prone to blood sugar crashes. Doesn't midlife sound so fun? Lifestyle realities. This is a really busy time of year, busy season of life. So we're often juggling careers, kids, maybe aging parents, and trying to stay afloat. So there's less time to move, there's more stress, there's worse sleep, all of which circle to impact our weight. Okay, so we're going to go into the hormone connection and go a little bit deeper now to look at each hormone and the role they play. So just to give you a bit of an understanding of your body and what it's doing at this time. So think of your hormones as like an orchestra. So when one player's off, it throws the whole symphony out of tunes. So with that in mind, we're going to meet our key players. So estrogen. Estrogen is one of your primary female sex hormones. I'm sure a lot of you know that, but we're just going to do a little recap. So it's produced mainly in our ovaries, but also in smaller amounts in your adrenal glands and fat tissue. However, the adrenal glands and fat tissue take over a little bit more as we get older. So estrogen is involved in way more than just periods and fertility. It actually plays a role in blood sugar regulation, insulin sensitivity, fat storage, especially in hips and thighs, the classic kind of female pattern, bone density and joint health, skin, brain, and vaginal health, mood stability, and serotonin production. So it does, it's involved in quite a lot of things there. So there's actually different types of estrogen that we produce, E1, E2, and E3. So estradiol is E2, and that's the main form during your reproductive years. And then during pregnancy, that's E3, estradiol, and then estrone, E1 becomes more dominant in perimenopause, and postmenopause. Okay, so what happens in midlife with estrogen? So as we move into perimenopause, estrogen starts to fluctuate, sometimes spiking, sometimes dipping. Eventually, it does start to decline more consistently as we get older and move more into menopause. And what that means is insulin resistance increases, so our bodies become more reactive to carbs and sugar. Fat shifts from hips and thighs to belly. You might also notice mood swings, hot flushes, poor sleep, weight gain. Okay, so why the belly fat? Why does it go to the mood? Why does it move to the belly? I know a lot of women get really frustrated with that. Like, just can't get rid of that. Why is it there? So believe it or not, your body's actually trying to protect you. So fat tissue actually produces some estrogen. And so when ovarian estrogen production slows down, our body may start storing fat as a way to kind of keep that hormone production going. So to keep a bit of estrogen production going. So it doesn't all just happen in the adrenals. It actually does come from some of our fat tissue. So it's not sabotage. It may feel like it sometimes, but it's your body trying to stay balanced. Our bodies are very clever in that way, but it can sometimes be frustrating. Okay. Progesterone. So progesterone is our lovely calming, stabilizing hormone. So it's mostly made in the ovaries after ovulation each cycle. A little also comes from adrenal glands as well, especially as we age. So what does it do? So it helps you feel calm, grounded, less anxious, supports deep, restful sleep, and it balances estrogen so that estrogen doesn't get too dominant. It keeps our periods regular and manageable, and does also play a role in thyroid support and metabolism. So how does it change in midlife? So progesterone is usually the first hormone to decline, often starting in your mid to late 30s. So you may recognize some of these symptoms, sooner in your cycle. So as ovulation becomes irregular, our bodies make less progesterone, and this can lead to feeling anxious or feeling wired but tired, trouble sleeping, especially waking around 3 a.m., shorter cycles, PMS, or spotting before your period. Meanwhile, estrogen usually stays high for a while, causing estrogen dominance, at least at the start in the perimenopause stage, before it also starts to decline. So by the time you reach menopause, which Just to define that as a reminder. So that's a period of 12 months without a period we usually call menopause. So by that time, both estrogen and progesterone are lower, but progesterone does usually start to drop much earlier. Cortisol. So cortisol is our main stress hormone. This is made in the adrenal glands. And it's essential in short bursts, like getting you out of bed in the morning, helping you respond to danger. So think flight or fight. So what does it do? It helps regulate energy, blood sugar, and inflammation, responds to stress, so any physical or emotional stress. It does impact fat storage, especially around the belly. It influences sleep, cravings, and recovery. So how does it affect you in midlife? Well, as we've seen, your stress often increases during this period of time, and your body may be running on cortisol more than ever. At the same time as your ovaries are winding down, your adrenals start picking up hormone production, especially for estrogen and progesterone. The problem is cortisol and progesterone actually compete for the same raw material. So if you're constantly stressed, your body will make cortisol and it will skip progesterone, our lovely calming hormone. So this can lead to more belly fat, poor sleep, and feeling wired but exhausted. And I'm sure many of you are probably feeling this way. And by the way, just a quick reminder, if any of you have any questions as we go along, we will have a chance to answer and discuss some things at the end. So feel free to pop stuff into the chat if you have any questions that you want to just quickly drop in the chat before you forget them. So no problem there. Okay, so a little bit about testosterone. It's not so testosterone is a male hormone, but women do need it as well, just in smaller amounts. It's made in our ovaries and adrenal glands, and plays a big role in muscle mass, metabolism, energy, motivation, and libido. So we're not 100% focusing on testosterone today, but just to kind of bring that in as well, as this is obviously a hormone that does change as well at this time. So it gradually declines with age. And lower levels can lead to things like muscle loss, slower metabolism, more fat storage around the belly, low motivation to move or exercise, and obviously libido. So libido can go missing at this age as well. And a lot of my clients do complain about that. So while it's not the biggest driver of the midlife weight gain we'll be talking about, it's still part of the picture. So I just wanted to give you kind of the full picture there, especially if you are noticing a shift in your strength or stamina. So this graph is just to give you, for our visual people, it's not clinically kind of like actual lab values here. It's just illustrative purposes only, but it sort of just shows you, we've met the key players, we've met the estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, and testosterone. So we're just kind of zooming out and just seeing how they shift over time. It just gives us that bigger picture. So progesterone you'll see drops first, often well before your period stops. Then estrogen will fluctuate a lot in perimenopause, then gradually decline also. And then cortisol, generally for most people, tend to rise in midlife, especially if we're stressed or burnt out. And testosterone, while lower overall, also declines, affecting strength, energy, motivation. So this is why midlife can feel like a bit of a hormonal tug of war. So your body isn't broken, I promise you. It's just adapting to this change. And once you kind of understand the pattern, you can kind of work with your body, not against it. That's the goal. So some common symptoms of hormone imbalance. So we've now seen how our hormones shift. So we're going to talk about now what that might feel like. So we've talked about some of these already, but so this next bit is a little bit broader. So we are focusing on weight gain today. But midlife changes don't happen in isolation. So we want to kind of talk about everything here as well, because they often come with a whole range of physical, mental, and emotional shifts. And look, you might not experience all of these, but a few will probably sound familiar. And if they do, you're not alone, and you're not doing anything wrong. And this season of life, as a reminder, is not about striving to look or feel like you did at 25. It's about understanding your body's kind of new baseline and supporting it in a way that actually works and feels good for you. So let's talk through some of the more common signs that your hormones might be a bit out of balance, and then we can zoom back in on the weight and what to do next. Okay, so common symptoms of hormonal balance: stubborn belly fat and weight gain that won't budge no matter what you do, even if you never had a problem with it before. Cravings, especially sugar and carbs, often will see an increase in cravings. Bloating and sluggish or slow digestion, maybe even some food sensitivities that you didn't have before. Poor sleep, 3 a.m. wake-ups, multiple wake-ups, having trouble getting to sleep or falling asleep. Anxiety or irritability or feeling just really flat is common. Fatigue that doesn't resolve with rest. Low libido and vaginal dryness. So some of these symptoms, if some of these symptoms sound familiar, just know, obviously you're not broken, you're responding to change. And while weight might be the thing that kind of brought you all here today, there's so much more to this phase of life. So this is also a time to get curious, kind of tune into your body and learn to work with it, not fight against it. And so just a reminder as well, you don't need to chase who you used to be. A lot of my clients, get really frustrated that things used to be like this, but they're not now. So I think, just a reminder, you don't need to chase who you need to be. You can support who you're becoming as well. So just keep that in mind. Okay, some food and natural remedies that work. So far we've covered the why. So what's going on with your hormones? We know that they're changing and different, dropping and moving. We've looked at the what, so some of the symptoms you might be feeling as a result, in addition to the belly fat. Now it's time to look at the how, some practical tips to support your body through this transitional period. So yes, we're here to talk about midlife weight gain, but the strategies I'm about to share aren't just about the scales. They're about supporting your energy, your mood, your sleep, your metabolism, and setting the foundation for long-term healthy aging. So I think that's what we're all wanting, to age well, to feel good into our later years. And so a lot of the stuff you'll do in your 30s and 40s, foundational stuff, will continue on to hopefully, continue with the healthy aging. Because it's not a short-term phase, it's a new chapter, and it's important to remember that as well. And so how you support your body now obviously will shape how you feel for decades to come. And we all want to be feeling great, don't we? For as long as possible. Okay, so we'll dive into some tools that make a difference. Okay, so we'll start with food, because this is where lots of women get stuck and feel stuck. So you don't need to go on a crash diet. You don't need to starve yourself, please don't. You don't need to cut out entire food groups or eat like you did in your 20s. So midlife is a time of change, and that includes how your body responds to food. So this time shouldn't be a time about too much restriction, but it is about adapting and giving your body what it actually needs now. So we'll walk through some simple shifts that you can make to support your hormones, your metabolism, and your energy without making you miserable. So if you only remember two numbers from today, 30 grams of protein and 30 grams of fiber. So protein, we do want to have more protein. Protein with every meal is ideal, but aim for 30 grams at breakfast if you can. At the beginning of the day is where it's really important to have our protein. So an example might be some like 3 eggs and a protein smoothie, tofu scramble, yogurt and eggs, yogurt and chia seeds, or hemp seeds and collagen powder, lots of different combinations, but try and aim for that 30 grams of protein. So protein helps stabilize our blood sugar, which starts dipping and being very inconsistent at this time, supports muscle, reduces cravings as well. So if you're eating protein, it will keep you fuller longer, so you're not craving those kind of carbs and sweet foods and sugars, and it sets your metabolism up for the day, which is what we're wanting to do, is support our metabolism. Fiber, so most people I see are not eating enough fiber, so aim for 30 grams a day. So that might look like, I think 1 tablespoon of flax seeds is about 2 grams, 1 cup of berries is about 4 grams, half cup of oats is about 4 grams. So you can look up kind of different foods and fiber content and just try and get your 30 grams in across the day. So fiber feeds our gut bacteria, our bugs love it, and it helps clear out excess hormones. So we do need to detox our hormones. And it also supports digestion and plays a big role in maintaining a healthy weight. So more fiber and more protein. And I know they may seem like simple tips, but how many of us are actually doing it? And I struggle myself, don't get me wrong. I struggle myself with 13 grams of protein at breakfast and remembering to have it at every meal. It is hard, but I know whenever I do put that effort into doing it and I do it consistently, I definitely feel a lot better throughout the day in terms of energy. So just, give these a go. And also while we're at it, while we're talking about gut bugs, don't forget to add some probiotic foods throughout the day too. So some kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt. This will support your microbiome and your estrogen, which you may not have heard of, but that's the part of your gut that helps break down and clear used estrogen. So all these work together to help our hormones function better and reduce that bloated, sluggish, stuck feeling that is really common in midlife. There we go. So we'll look at a few simple foods and nutrients that can help support hormone balance naturally. So to support estrogen detox, so we do want to detox our estrogen and ensure we're giving our liver and gut support to detox estrogen. And the way we can start doing that is focusing on cruciferous vegetables, flax seeds, and sulforaphane. Most of my clients in this phase of life, I supplement them with sulforaphane. So sulforaphane is from broccoli. It comes from broccoli sprouts, and it's one of the most powerful compounds for hormone, gut, and liver support. It does a lot, and there's lots of research on sulforaphane. I'd love to just do a separate webinar on sulforaphane and the benefits in aging, and it actually also helps So estrogen can be detoxed down different pathways. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to testing, but functional testing. But you do want to make sure that your estrogen is being detoxed down the right pathway. There are certain pathways that are more put you more at risk of things like estrogen dominant cancers and things like that. So it's really important to ensure you are detoxing your estrogen and that it is moving out the right pathways that are more protective. Sulforaphane is really great at helping with that. Flaxseed, so they're rich in fiber, which we've just talked about, and gentle phytoestrogens. And sulforaphane, obviously we've mentioned that. And then to support progesterone, so our lovely calming hormone, we want to help our body make it and regulate it. So especially if you're not ovulating regularly. So this is where Vitex, chaste tree herb can help support natural hormone signaling. Also some B6 and magnesium are both needed to make and maintain healthy progesterone. Stress. So we've talked about supporting cortisol levels because stress is driving the show. We know our progesterone is not going to be is going to get pushed to the side, and it's going to be nearly impossible to shift weight, sleep well, or feel balanced. So we do really want to work on our stress levels. And one of the most helpful tools is called adaptogens. So adaptogens are a group of herbs that help our body adapt to stress, hence the name. And they don't push your system in one direction. They just help bring it back into balance. So whether you're running on empty or you're stuck in flight or fight, it just helps bring your body back into balance and support your adrenals as well in this kind of period of life where stress tends to run the show a little. So ashwagandha is a really common one, withania, so great for calming the nervous system, improving sleep, and reducing cortisol if it's high. Rhodiola, is another one, and this is good for people who are flat or feeling kind of mentally fatigued. It also helps with energy and focus under stress. And then there's phosphatidylserine, not a herb, but a compound that helps lower evening cortisol, especially if you're waking at 3 a.m. or can't wind down at night. So these are just some gentle, powerful remedies. There's obviously loads of adaptogens. I can't go into all of them, but these are some common ones that a lot of the women that I treat in clinic, I will usually prescribe ashwagandha for a lot. So choosing the right one does depend on how you're feeling, what your body needs. So it can be personalized, but these are some ones that are common. Okay, what to reduce or rethink. So this probably won't come as any surprise, and it's not about being perfect. So I do want to preface that. It's about understanding what makes things harder for your hormones. So sugar, alcohol, and ultra processed foods all add extra stress to your system. So they all spike your blood sugar, mess with your mood and energy, and make it harder for your body to balance hormones and burn fat. So this doesn't mean you can never have wine or chocolate again. That would be a very sad life. It just means being more aware. Being more aware of how much you're having. Are you using it, and are you enjoying these foods as a treat, or are they turning into crutches? And we're needing that alcohol to wind down at night. We're reaching for sugar to get through the day. So just tuning in here. And if you are feeling very puffy, inflamed, or stuck, start by reducing this obvious stuff. So sugary snacks or daily wine, processed cereals or packaged snacks, over-reliance on caffeine or energy drinks to push through the day. So even small steps can make a big difference to how you feel, especially with your energy, sleep, and belly fat. And I know myself, I'm not a big drinker, but even now, if I have one glass of wine, I notice it messes with my sleep a lot. And I never used to have that effect. I felt like a glass of wine might actually help, would relax me and I'd sleep fine. Now, as I get older and I'm in my 40s, I'm 42, I notice now even just one, it will affect my sleep. So try cutting those things and seeing how you feel, or at least reducing if they are you're having a lot of them. Lifestyle and some hacks. So all right, we've talked about some key food and natural supports. So let's shift into what we can do outside the kitchen, because lifestyle does play a really big role here in how your hormones behave. And I'm not talking about necessarily overhauling your whole life or adding 10 new habits to your already very busy day. It's about understanding what actually helps and what quietly works against you when it comes to weight, hormones, and feeling more like yourself again. So these are some daily habits, stress cues, movement patterns, and nervous system resets that make a big difference, especially when you're in this season of hormonal change. So let's take a look at some of these. My little clicker thing keeps getting stuck today. There we go. Okay, let's talk about movement first. So we all know to exercise, but sometimes in this phase of life, it can be hard when we're feeling tired and wired, and exercise feels like the last thing we want to do. But ironically, exercise will actually make you feel better in terms, it'll actually give you more energy. So as much as you might not feel like doing it, even just doing a little bit and doing it, even if you don't feel like it, remember how you feel afterwards, because you'll always feel great after you exercise. So try and aim for 150 minutes a day. You don't need to be that specific, but that's really about 20 to 30 minutes a day. So that could be brisk walking, rebounding, if that suits you. You don't have back issues, that could be really nice. And it's just 2 to 3 resistance sessions a week, and yoga, Pilates, and stretching. So the biggest mistakes I see in midlife with my clients are still trying to work out like they did in their 20s. So doing boot camps, really long cardio sessions, HIIT workouts, like really intense exercise, like too much intense exercise, and pushing harder when a lot of the time the body's already feeling really burnt out. So more exercise isn't always better for losing weight. I know that might sound counterproductive, but it's true, especially when your cortisol is already really high, and more intense exercise, I should say, as well. So instead, the goal is to move in a way that supports your metabolism, which is changing, and also your nervous system, because we know stress is so impacted at this time, and cortisol is so high, it can be so high. So as we said, aim for 150 minutes of aerobic activity a week. Add in 2 to 3 resistance sessions if you can. So that's, to maintain muscle and boost metabolism. And actually a lot of research shows it's actually the resistance training that helps with the belly fat but that's what helps. Not necessarily loads and loads of cardio. So I think there's a lot of misconception out there. You have to be doing loads of cardio to lose weight. And that's just not true. It's actually the resistance training is what we want at this age. And also for lots of other reasons with bone density, it helps with bone density, muscle mass, things like that, which will help us through this phase of life a lot more if we are building muscle and maintaining muscle. And also it helps boost the metabolism. And don't underestimate the power of yoga, stretching, and walking, especially for lowering cortisol. So when cortisol is really, really high, and depending where we're at, if we're really, really burnt out, we want to start with yoga and Pilates. If we're not exercising, we're feeling really burnt out, we start with the gentle stuff. With the yoga, Pilates, and stretching. And also keeps us more supple. So a good combination, if you can combine those and find a system that works for you, you'll be doing well. Sleep. So this can be this is probably one of the number one things I see in clinic around this age is sleep just being, really frustrating that we can't sleep, or we have really inconsistent sleep. But a lot of my clients aren't doing the really simple things, so people are like, oh yeah, I know I've got to sleep in the dark. I know I've got to not look at my screens, but we are still all doing it. Or a lot of people are. So really, really, really focus on the simple things and doing them consistently. And I can guarantee you'll see some changes. Absolutely. So sleep is when obviously your body repairs, detoxes, and actually balances your hormones. So it's really important. So if you're waking at 3 a.m., if you're struggling to fall asleep, or you're feeling exhausted in the morning, your cortisol and melatonin rhythm might be out of sync, so our circadian rhythm. So a few things that help: cool, dark room. Try and keep TVs and everything out of the room. Put your phone on airplane mode. I do that every night, and I don't have it in my head. So a lot of this is affecting our sleep. Try and have consistent sleep and wake times as well, as much as possible. Limit screens at night. I know this is a big one for a lot of people who love scrolling on their phones, and it's a way to relax, and watching TV is a way to relax. But honestly, if sleep is really hard for you right now and you're struggling, even if just for a little while you try the no screens before bed. Even an hour before bed, maybe read a book or do some light yoga, stretching, or some other activity that you like doing that's supportive of sleep. And start turning the lights down, things like that. So just getting our body sort of recognizing it's time for sleep. But yeah, limiting screens is a big one. If you need more support at this stage, I love magnesium glycinate for sleep. Kava and valerian are 2 herbs I often use with clients as well. And then we might want to also try some red or amber light glasses. They can be really good if you are looking at some screens during the day. The amber light glasses can be really good for that so we're helping with melatonin production. Make sure we're getting sunlight in the morning too. So when we jump out of bed, not staring at our phones straight away, which I think we're all guilty of doing sometimes, going out and just getting some sun in your eyes. That's what helps our body produce melatonin. And that's what's more natural for us to be doing. So it's just making these little shifts that may seem really small, but are we doing them? Probably not. Are we doing all of these? And are we doing it consistently? So these small changes really do add up, I promise you, especially in a phase of life where your body is asking for more rest, not more stress. Speaking of reducing stress, another one. So move more, and stress less. And sleep well. So we know that cortisol plays a big role. We've talked about it in midlife weight, especially the stubborn kind around the middle. So working on our stress is going to help with that as well. So what often gets missed is the fact that cortisol rises from the little things in our day. So every day we're rushing, we're multitasking, we've had poor sleep, and even when we over-exercise, like we've talked about, like doing those HIIT sessions, really intense stuff when we're already feeling a bit burnt out. So this is where daily little resets can come in to just remind our body and signal to our body that we're safe. So our body doesn't know the difference between running from a bear and meeting deadlines that are stressing us out. So our body will have that same response. And the problem with modern day life is we're getting stuck in that flight or fight mode, and it's really affecting everything: our digestion, our sleep, our fertility, all kinds of different things. It's really important to focus on stressing less. And even if you're handling your stress well, you think you are, I hear a lot of my clients, oh, well, I handle it really well. I don't feel overly stressed, but then they're telling me what they're doing. I'm like, but your body doesn't know the difference. Your body thinks you're running from a bear still. So you need to, just do these little things to just remind and tell your body that you're safe. And that it's safe, and it can, put that energy back into sleep and back into digestion, and not just on adrenaline and cortisol to pump out and help you run from danger. So some things to focus on, again, breath work, meditation. We've probably heard this a million times, but how many of us are actually doing it? And it doesn't have to be for ages. It doesn't have to be sitting in a room and being silent. There's lots of different versions of this and you can always find one that can work for you. So I myself always found meditation hard, but I really like the guided meditations. My brain needs something to do. So I really like the guided meditations that still gives me something to think about, but not my, day-to-day stuff. So I know there's a Calm app. I really love the Insight Timer app. I don't know if any of you have tried that. I recommend it to all my clients. And it's just a lovely little app that has guided meditations, different sounds, different music tracks, and you can just look up anything. There's trauma tracks if you wanted to release trauma. There was a full moon last night. I did a full moon meditation, letting negative energy go and bringing in positive. So then you can just search for anything. And I use it with my 4-year-old son. So I'm trying to get him into good habits already, where I let him choose a little kids meditation track. So just giving our body that kind of reminding our body to relax. So that's Insight Timer. I should have put that on the slides, sorry, but Insight Timer app, if you wanted to try check it out. It's actually free. There is a paid version of it, but it is free. For the most part. So a quiet walk outside without your phone, journaling or sitting in silence, stillness, especially in the morning, first thing, is a really great time to just note down your thoughts. An infrared sauna, if that is your thing, or even a warm bath, add in some magnesium salts for an extra stress release. You don't need an hour, okay, but you just need to do these little moments consistently to tell our bodies we're safe. Okay, some real life midlife hacks. Just a couple of things to finish this section that I share with clients all the times. This may or may not work for you, so just a couple of little things. So a weighted vest, not great, not perfect for everybody, but this can help gently increase resistance training while walking. So if you're someone that loves walking, especially if you're not doing regular strength training, it does help maintain muscles, boost metabolism, and support bone density. That said, start light if you are looking into that, and skip it if you have back or joint issues. It's not for everyone. Next, the walking treadmill. So if you're at your desk all day, every day, like I am, and I work from home, so it's a little bit easier for me, but you can look at a walking treadmill. There's some really little small walking treadmills that you can just pop away that don't take up much room. And that can be a real game changer of just walking more while you're on the phone, etc. Or even get up and walk around the house. I mean, you don't need a treadmill, just get up and walk around when you're at your desk, if you're on phone calls or something like that, just to get up moving. Protein snack, so batch prep protein snacks. So make up some boiled eggs, protein balls, and just have them ready to go. So when you're hungry, you can reach for those rather than sugar or wine or things that that we know are going to be working against us. And another thing, if you're into it, so track what impacts your body: stress, food, sleep, with real data. So again, not for everyone, but how you feel is important, but sometimes having that real data of what's going on in your body is really helpful. And we'll talk about that a bit more with functional testing in a minute. But just things like stress, sleep, blood sugar, and even your cycle obviously can all influence weight and hormone balance, but we don't often connect the dots until we kind of see a pattern. So that's where we can have wearable tools like the Aura Ring, or a continuous glucose monitor can be super helpful as blood sugar starts shifting. And we'll have a little chat. So I've just popped these here. So these are just a couple of tools that I like. So the Aura Ring, so it tracks sleep, heart rate variability, body temperature, and recovery. So it's amazing for seeing how stress, late nights, alcohol, or even your cycle can affect your nervous system, and helps you make more aligned choices, not out of guilt, but just based on how your body is actually coping. And that I like the Aura Ring. That's one that has the least amount of EMFs as well. So I don't mind that one for a tracker. I don't like some of the other ones, but can be good. Can be good if you're wanting to track some of your data. And then there's a continual glucose monitor, really good to use at this time of life if you're interested in how your blood sugar responds to different foods, stress, sleep, and exercise. And you can actually connect these two together, or you can connect Vively. So there is a few different continual glucose monitors. Vively is one of them. You can actually, if you have an Aura Ring and Vively, you can connect them and get data together, which is always good. And look, the goal here isn't about becoming obsessed with tracking either. So if you are someone who's likely to do that, maybe this isn't necessarily right for you, but I just think it's great to have data of what our bodies are actually doing, because we are all very different. And it just helps build that body awareness at this stage, so you can see what you're reacting to, and how your sleep is and what's like really a struggle for you. And then you can make changes that actually work for you once you've got this data in hand. Okay, functional testing. So I love functional testing. I use it, hence the name of my clinic, Real Functional Health. I love functional testing. So we have covered some food, lifestyle, and some other powerful daily habits, which I hope you are doing some of these, or will take these away and try them. But functional testing, we can talk about, this takes the guesswork out of a lot of it all, and it helps personalize. So sometimes you can feel like you're doing all the right things and it still feels like nothing's shifting. And that's where functional testing can be really helpful to personalize and dig deeper into the root causes for you and what's actually showing up for you personally. So it helps us understand kind of what your hormones, gut, thyroid, and stress systems are doing, so we can stop guessing and start supporting your body with real data. So obviously the tips I've given you today, all of that will work for you, but it's just sometimes there's some other things going on, or there's more an emphasis on one area or the other, and it's just good to personalize and understand what's going on for you. So test, don't guess is what I tell all my clients. It takes away that guesswork, and honestly, it's a relief when you're kind of exhausted from trying random protocols or trying different things that don't work, and you're not noticing any changes, and there's something more going on and you want to kind of explore that. So one of the tests I'm doing here, hopefully I don't think I can flick into that here, but if you get a copy of the notes, you'll be able to have a look at that sample report. But one of the tests I do with my clients is the Dutch test, which stands for Dried Urine Test for Comprehensive Hormones. So you might get some blood tests from doctors. This is a different test. It's urine. Both of them are helpful at looking at our hormones, but I really like this one because it actually shows how our hormones are functioning. So it gives us a detailed look at your cortisol rhythm and melatonin. It looks at estrogen, progesterone levels, and how well you're detoxing those hormones. So as I said, estrogen, we want to see that it's going down a safe pathway rather than the proliferative pathways that can put us at increased risk of things like estrogen dominant cancer. So especially if there's a history of breast cancers and things like that in the family. So I think it's really good to just see that we are detoxing estrogen down the right pathway. So this will tell us if we are estrogen dominant. It will tell us if all our levels of hormones and how they're actually functioning, and which pathways they're going down. Also looks at the male hormones like testosterone and DHEA. And there is some other data in here around nutrient levels and things like that, just a small amount of extra data there as well. So it's one of the best tools we have for midlife. Just about all my clients will do a Dutch test with me, and we'll often put a wellness plan in place and personalize it, and then we'll redo the Dutch test down the track maybe a year later and see how things are going. So it is really good at just tracking improvements as well, so we know that wellness plans are working for you. So as I said, we don't just look at the hormone levels, it looks at how your body is actually processing them, which I think is really important. Microbiome testing, so complete microbiome testing. So I do a lot of this with my clients as well. So this is a deep dive into your gut health. It looks at your levels of beneficial and harmful bacteria. It will see if there's any yeast, parasites, any inflammation, how your digestive enzymes are going, and how many you're producing, and a lot more. So this matters. Gut testing matters at this age because, especially with weight gain, it can be very helpful with weight gain as well. If there's other things going on here that might be contributing, like inflammation. And this matters around this time because your digestion plays a huge role in hormone metabolism as well, and weight regulation, and of course inflammation, like I've just said. So one area we focus on is the estrobolome. I mentioned that before. It's a specific group of gut bacteria that helps clear out used estrogen. So gut and hormones are really connected. And if this isn't working, if our estrogen isn't working properly, estrogen can be recirculated and reabsorbed. And then that can be driving up symptoms like bloating, PMS, stubborn weight gain. And on top of that, gut diversity actually, so having good diversity in our gut bugs is actually what helps keep our gut really healthy, and good health starts in the gut. Gut diversity actually drops naturally by about 30 to 40% after menopause, which can also affect how well you're absorbing your nutrients, managing inflammation, and supporting detox pathways. So it's a huge piece of the puzzle. So I think doing hormone and gut testing is really helpful, depending on your symptoms, of course, and we do personalize depending on symptoms, health goals, etc. But it can be missed when women are trying to lose weight or balance hormones, and it can give us some really powerful answers. Thyroid, again, not necessarily critical for everyone, but I do like to always run a panel and just see what the thyroid's doing. It is important because thyroid issues are incredibly common in midlife, especially for women. And most standard tests you do at GP will just look at thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, and that's really not enough. That doesn't really give us the full picture of what's going on with how your thyroid is functioning. So I'd like to look deeper and look at the active hormones, the free T3, the free T4, how they're converting, and then if there's any thyroid antibodies as well, which could link to autoimmune diseases. So doing this full panel gives us a clear picture of how your thyroid is functioning and whether there's any underlying autoimmunity starting to show up. And why does this matter for weight? Well, your thyroid is actually your metabolic thermostat. So if it's sluggish, even just a little, it can lead to fatigue, weight gain, constipation, low mood, and feeling cold or flat. So if you've ever been told your thyroid is fine, but you still don't feel right, chances are it hasn't been looked at properly. I also try and encourage my clients to do some blood work, particularly around blood sugar markers. So we see that blood sugar insulin resistance can creep up in this time of life. So we want to look at blood sugar regulation. So we like to run tests like fasting insulin, HbA1c, which is a marker of your average blood sugar levels over the past 2 to 3 months. So it gives us a good kind of marker of the last 2 to 3 months rather than just one test on one day. And fasting glucose, because many midlife women are actually pre-diabetic and don't know it. So it's really good to start looking at this. So you could be eating well, exercising, but still gaining weight around the middle and wondering why. And that's what's often happening, is that insulin is creeping up, which makes fat loss harder, drives cravings, and throws off our hormone balance. So even if your regular blood sugar, your doctor might do one of these markers, even if that comes back normal, it is worth looking into and looking deeper into it, just to see how your blood sugar is going. Keep an eye on it, so we can see patterns before it becomes an issue. Some other functional tests that I sometimes run with my clients, and it will depend on the actual client. Oh, I see I've got a typo there. Hair tissue mineral analysis meant to say. There are also a few other tests. So hair tissue mineral analysis gives us insight into things like magnesium, calcium, sodium, so all your minerals. Potassium, it also looks at some heavy metals that could be affecting your health, as well as your stress response and adrenal function. So that's a really nice one to do sometimes for certain clients. Oats testing, so organic acids. And this can help us look at our metabolic health, detox pathways, nutrient status, gut health, and how well our mitochondria, which is our energy in our cells, our energy systems in our cells, how well they're functioning, and how are we getting our energy from food, and are they functioning well? So they aren't needed for everyone. And also organic acids is a good one for neurotransmitters if we're feeling mood shift a lot and we want to have a look at some of our dopamine and serotonin levels. So they aren't always needed for everyone. Obviously, they are great tools when we've got fatigue, mood, or resilience that just don't seem to be improving. So we might dig deeper with a few other tests depending on the client. So as you can see, functional testing isn't about finding more things wrong with you. It is just to help understand what your body's actually asking for, stop the guesswork, and target the right solution to you. So because midlife isn't really a time to be guessing, throwing supplements at symptoms necessarily, or following generic plans that weren't designed for your physiology. And yes, doing the tools we spoke about today are things that will help, but it may be that you need some targeted testing to find the right solution for you, so you are getting real results based on what your body is asking for. Just a quick one on medication when it comes to weight gain. So this is often something that gets overlooked, but it's worth checking in on. So some common medications like antidepressants, beta blockers, antihistamines, even birth control can contribute to weight gain and make it harder to lose weight. So it's not always the main cause, but it can definitely add to the picture, especially when your hormones are already shifting. So if you've been doing kind of all the right things, feeling stuck, it's worth having a chat with your doctor, prescribing doctor, your GP, just to see if there's any weight neutral alternatives available if needed. Or ways to adjust your dosage or timing. So we're not blaming medication, it's just about being informed and kind of advocating for your whole body well-being. Final thoughts, just wrapping up. So just want to wrap up with a few final thoughts. So midlife weight isn't about failure, it's about biology. Your hormones are shifting, your metabolism is adapting, and your body is simply asking for a new approach. So hopefully you've got now a clearer understanding of what's really going on and how small, simple changes to food, movement, stress, and sleep can truly make a difference. And consistency really is about doing these little things and being consistent. And of course, if you're ready to go deeper, or you feel like you want to sort of personalize a wellness plan, functional testing can take that guesswork out, really hone in on what is your body struggling with, so that you can really personalize supplements, diet, and lifestyle to yourself. And a lot of these general ones we will absolutely do. A lot of these I will do with my clients. That's why I pulled them out for you today. But just digging in, sometimes just certain areas we need to work on with different clients. So that's where the functional testing really does help take that guesswork out and help us find the right solution for your body and just target different things. So it's not about doing more, it's about doing what actually works. I do have my details here. If you want to stay connected, I would love to hear from you. I'm on Instagram. I do have my new website, should be up and running now. I've just redone my website. So yeah, I'd love for you to get in touch. And I just wanted to end with this last slide about body kindness in midlife. So I see a lot of clients, women in my practice, who are really hard on themselves this time of life as well. So before we move into questions, I just wanted to quickly leave you with this. So, this phase of life can be very confronting and frustrating, not just physically, but also emotionally. There's often grief for how things used to feel and pressure to stay the same, pressure we put on ourselves, pressure we get from elsewhere. Pressure to look the same or do more to fix what's changing. There's this constant need of fixing. Just remember, this is a natural part of life. This is a natural stage of life. It's not a time to try and shrink yourself. It's a time to rebuild strength, restore trust in your body, and redefine what health means for you, not your 25-year-old self. You are allowed to honor your energy. You are allowed to dress for the body you have now and have fun doing it. Go and get a new wardrobe if that's what you need to feel good. You know what I mean? Go and accentuate areas of your body that you love. Choose nourishment over punishment. Nourish your body. Don't punish it with starving it or having these diets that are, you can't sustain. See beauty in softness, wisdom, and stability. And above all, you're allowed to be kind to yourself as you change. So this season isn't about going backwards or trying to hold on to a past version of ourselves. It is about stepping into this next version of you with more confidence and clarity and care than ever before. And also having that gratitude to be here. A lot of people, my own grandmother died at 40 of breast cancer. So I'm always very aware that I'm 42, I'm older than her now. And that just seems so young. So I think, I always try and bring back to remembering how grateful we are to be in this phase of life and to be aging and, and just, love yourself. So I just wanted to end on that because I think, sometimes we can be really tough on ourselves. And I just wanted to remind us of that. And with that, we're finished. Thank you for making it to the end with me. And of course, we do have a little bit of time for questions.
Oh, amazing, Chantel. Thank you so much.
That's
You
all right.
stop share your screen as well. And
Thank you.
I do
I
have
can see
all
everyone.
good.
Sorry, I couldn't see you all. So I couldn't see you while I was having my notes up, but.
So I don't know if you want to look at the questions, but we do have one there from Leonie asking about that extra thyroid functional testing that you put up there. She was wondering if that's available only through naturopaths that you mentioned for the thyroid.
No, so your doctors do have access to doing it. It is blood tests, so your doctors can do it, but they often won't. So that's the tricky thing. So unless you have thyroid issues or unless you have, so we know with blood test results, the frustrating thing can be, doctors might run your TSH, the one I talked about, the thyroid stimulating hormone. And if that's not out of range, they're not likely to test the others. And even if it is out of range, they're not likely to test it. So it is a bit tricky. So often I'll see, I'll get that from my clients, just be like, that's, and the other thing to bear in mind with blood tests, GPs their reference ranges are based on an unhealthy population. Like we are generally an unhealthy population, right? So the reference ranges they have are not like what we want. They're not optimal. So naturopaths, the difference is we'll look at what's optimal and we'll also look at patterns. So my clients will come to me sometimes with blood tests and I'll be like, your kidneys have been failing and failing, but now the doctor's worried about it and we've got, but we could have picked this up sooner. And same with thyroid. We'll see the thyroid TSH will suddenly start going up and up and up and up. So your thyroid's getting sluggish. But we need to see kind of why. We need to see the whole pattern. Is there a conversion issue? Is there something else going? Is there autoimmune starting to creep in? So we need to see these patterns earlier. So yes, your doctor can do it. Will they do it? That's a whole other thing. So sometimes it's just see what you can get from your doctor, because obviously you can get them free. So I always encourage my clients to try and get what they can with bloods, and then come to me and we can have a look at it if we and then I might say no, at the moment you don't need to do further testing, or I might say yeah, actually let's do a full panel, because I think it would be useful to just see what's going on. And it's just about prevention and sort of, grabbing things before. That's what I love about naturopathy. We're trying to see patterns. We're trying to grab things before they become an issue. Unfortunately, our conventional medical world, they don't really pay attention until it's an issue. And by then we're like, oh, we could have been doing all these things beforehand. So yes, hopefully that answers your question. But you can always ask your doctor first, for sure. And if you can't get it, then look into it with the naturopath. But unfortunately, there is, of course, a cost involved. And look, there is with all functional testing, it is a cost. And my clients are always like, oh, it's expensive. But my response to that is, it's also expensive to be unhealthy. It's also expensive to be guessing and not doing things that your body needs. So I think it can be an investment in yourself to do some of this testing and be like, oh, so that's what's going on with me, right? And now we know why we're taking the supplements. I don't just give you 10 supplements and say, well, these are what's good for everybody. It'll be like, this is what you need. Your test says you need this. This is why we're doing this. Or your test need to focus on this. This is why we're doing this. So that's where it can be really helpful to just sometimes, get what you can from the doctor, but sometimes it's worth just paying to get those functional tests to just really be able to personalize and get that data that you need, and really personalize your wellness plan.
I love that. That's so good. And I put a little question in there as well. What happens to hormones if you have coffee before breakfast? Because I think you see so many people, they get up and they go, I'm going to have a coffee first.
Yes, it spikes our cortisol. So our cortisol naturally starts dipping sort of later in the morning generally. And look, there's actually a DNA genetic thing that comes into this as well. Everyone's a little bit different in terms of in terms of, I do a lot of DNA testing with my clients too. And it's really interesting to see some people are better getting up a bit early, a bit later. But yes, generally our cortisol is kind of highest in the morning to get us up out of bed, and then starts dipping in the mid-morning. So that's when it's a good time to have your coffee. And also, please have it with food. Don't have it first thing, and go have it outside in the sun. Not on your phone. It's not on your phone like this. Go outside, look at the sun, have your coffee there with some breakfast. What are we having for breakfast? Lots of protein. I started doing that with my son now. I'm getting him good habits. We go out and we have our breakfast together, in the sun, and we just kind of, when it's nice weather, of course, and we just eat our breakfast outside. We listen to the birds, and it's, I'm getting him hopefully in good habits to just get his circadian rhythm kind of working well. Unfortunately, in modern life, we just are doing a lot of things working against our natural kind of rhythms, which is tough, but there is certainly ways that we can improve it.
And Jem just asked, who do you use this test? But I wasn't too sure which test she was asking for.
So after the Dutch test,
yes,
there was a few other functional tests that you did. I was just curious from a naturopathic perspective who you use.
Which labs? Yeah, so I use a few different ones. So I use Naturopath for a lot of mine. So I see a lot of clients in New Zealand as well. And so we go through Naturopath for most of the tests there. RN Labs will have some tests that I quite like as well. So they do the precision analytical Dutch test. So there's a couple of different places that do Dutch tests. Naturopath will do it as well. I like the precision analytical one. So yes, RN Labs, Naturopath will do it. Some of the blood tests, you can do some of your own blood tests you can get from home, like the thyroid ones that I talked about. Usually iScreen or iMedical are good for that. So I usually go through, they're most of the ones that I would use. The complete microbiome is through Naturopath as well. Yeah, so they're kind of trusted labs. Yeah. Have you done any functional testing? Or curious?
I use iScreen for my clients, but I was looking for a Dutch test literally this week, and I just didn't know where to start. So
you're a practitioner yourself?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. So definitely sign up for, are you a naturopath or?
Yep.
Cool. Definitely sign up for Naturopath. I don't love their Dutch test, so it's kind of it's not as good as Precision Analytical. Precision Analytical is the original one of the original people of Dutch, and then Naturopath kind of done their own version of it. It has similar stuff, but I definitely love Precision Analytical more. So sign up for RN Labs if you can get an account with them, and they have a whole bunch of good food sensitivity tests that I really like as well. So definitely both of those, and FX Med has a few as well, but I definitely, they're the two I use the most for sure. And iScreen, great for bloods for clients. It's really great. iMedical is another really good one. You can actually, as a practitioner, you can actually do your own panel for your clients.
Which one's that?
iMedical.
iMedical, yep.
Yeah, so you can actually sign up as a practitioner and you can do your own panel for your clients. So if you are wanting to do like a, like a well woman one on ice cream or something, you could do something similar, do your own version of that, and then give that to your clients, and they could just go straight on and log in and do it. So, and order it. So that's a really good one as well.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. I have to go to another client now. So that
No worries. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
And also just maybe one more question. Do you see a lot of women maybe coming in who are on the bandwagon of that intermittent fasting, but they're stressed? And I know you talked so much about protein and eating regularly. So what would you recommend if someone, was midlife stressed, but also, doing that intermittent fasting?
Look, I think fasting, there is lots of research that it can be good, but it's very different. Different people will respond to that differently. So it can be really good for some women and it can be not as great for some women. And then depending kind of, when they're doing it, how they're doing it, things like that. So it can absolutely be a useful tool, intermittent fasting, but does really depend. That's something I would personalize. And especially depending on how stressed and burnt out that people, what level of stress and burnt out we are as well. So really stressed out, burnt out people, I probably wouldn't be advising that as like a really key thing at that stage. Definitely need to nourish our bodies, not punish them. But yes, fasting can be a good way to nourish, but it just depends how you're doing it. A lot of people are doing it not right or wrong, and just, and sometimes starving ourselves can actually make our body. And I do see a lot of women doing that, like basically starving themselves. Like, I'm basically not eating, I'm eating, and how am I gaining weight? And it's like, well, your body is going to like stress starvation mode and holding on to fat too, because we're getting really stressed out. So we've got to be careful about that.
Amazing. Again, thank you so much, Chantel, for joining us today. It was such a great webinar for Natural Medicine Week. And please do check out the Natural Medicine Week website. We have plenty of events. I did also share it in our chat as well. Lots more events coming up, a webinar a day. And we really thank you again for joining us. I just loved your presentation. I think everyone else did. So thank you so much.
I hope so. Thank you, everyone, and all the best. Thanks so much for coming. Really appreciate it.